All right, let's talk about forests. They're way more than just a bunch of trees, right? Today, we're diving into why they are, quite literally, our planet's lifeline. So, when you think about what we get from forests, the first things that probably pop into your head are the physical things, the stuff we can see and touch. Wood for our furniture, paper for our books, even things like honey or fruit. These are the obvious benefits, the things we know we get from them. But here's the thing. What if all that stuff is just a tiny fraction of what forests actually do for us? What if their most important jobs, the ones that keep our entire planet running smoothly, are completely invisible? That's what we're going to get into. What are these secret, super important jobs? Okay, first up, let's zoom all the way out. We're talking big picture, planetary scale. Because forests are basically the planet's lungs and its protective shield, all rolled into one. It all starts with this really incredible partnership. It's simple. We breathe out carbon dioxide, and plants, well, they essentially breathe it in. This amazing give and take, this symbiotic cycle, is what keeps the balance of gases in our atmosphere just right, making Earth habitable in the first place. And they don't just stop at breathing. Think of forests as these gigantic natural air filters. All that dust, smog, and other gunk in the air, the leaves and bark of the trees literally grab it, trapping pollutants and scrubbing the air we all breathe. Forests also have another superpower: managing water. When you get a huge downpour, a forest's massive network of tree roots acts like a net, holding all the soil together so it doesn't just wash away. At the same time, the forest floor itself acts like a giant sponge, soaking up all that rainwater and preventing it from turning into a devastating flood. And because they're such a great sponge, they do more than just stop floods. That water they soak up has to go somewhere. It trickles down deep into the earth and recharges the underground water supplies we depend on. So it's also a natural defense against drought. A pretty brilliant system, right? So we've seen how forests work on a huge planetary level. But now, let's zoom in. Let's go from the macro to the micro and look at the incredibly complex and interwoven world of life inside the forest. You probably remember the food chain from science class. It's a straight line of energy. You have grass, a producer. A grasshopper eats the grass. A frog eats the grasshopper. A snake eats the frog. Simple enough. The energy just moves up the chain one step at a time. But of course, nature is never that neat and tidy. That snake might get eaten by an eagle. That frog is probably eating other insects, not just grasshoppers. When you start connecting all these different overlapping chains, you get what's actually going on. A food web. It's a much more tangled, complex, and realistic picture of how everything is truly connected. But wait, what happens when something dies? Whether it's a leaf that falls or an animal at the top of that food web, where does all that energy and matter go? Does it just disappear? No way. This is where the unsung heroes of the forest come in, the hidden recyclers. So who are these recyclers? We call them decomposers. This is the forest's cleanup crew, working away mostly unseen. We're talking about fungi, bacteria, earthworms, beetles. Their entire job is to take all the dead organic stuff and just break it all down. And the reason that's so critical is that as they break everything down, they release all those valuable nutrients back into the soil. That's what makes the forest floor so rich and fertile, which is exactly what new plants need to grow. And those new plants, of course, start the whole food web all over again. It's a perfect closed loop where nothing is ever wasted. So we have this beautiful, intricate, self-sustaining system. It regulates the planet, it recycles everything perfectly. It just works. But what happens when we break it? What are the consequences when these forests start to disappear? Well, the thing that breaks the system is called deforestation. And that's just a term for the large-scale cutting down of trees. And let's be super clear, this isn't just about losing some wood. It's an act that throws that entire environmental balance we've been talking about completely out of whack. And what follows is a really dangerous chain reaction. You cut down the trees. With fewer trees to soak up carbon dioxide, CO2 levels in the air go up. More CO2 traps more heat. so the planet's average temperature rises. And from there, you get a whole cascade of consequences, from more floods to animals losing their homes. The cost is devastatingly high. It's a domino effect. Animals lose their food and shelter, pushing more species toward extinction. Soil erodes, making floods even worse. Global warming accelerates. And for us humans, we're not just losing trees, we're losing potential sources of new medicines and foods we haven't even discovered yet. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. This is why we call forests our lifeline. They aren't just some nice-to-have resource, they're essential. And the fact that this lifeline is disappearing, well, that has huge implications for every single one of us. So just to recap, look at all these crucial jobs a forest does. A huge chunk of its work is just producing the oxygen we breathe and regulating our climate. Then it prevents floods, it provides a home for countless species, and on top of all that, it gives us those products we use every day. When you see it all laid out like this, their importance is just undeniable. So I'll leave you with this one thought to chew on. We've established how deeply our survival is connected to the health of our forests. They truly are our lifeline. So the question we all have to ask ourselves is, what happens when we cut that line?